Okay, so we're here in Tokyo with Pascal. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Pascal Zivi. I'm French. I come now 16 years ago to Japan to study judo, and 10 years ago I started to be interested in culture problem, and in particular with the moon church problem. And 6 years ago I have a chance to read the book of Mr. Stevenson about the mind control, and I started to study also from this time the problem of the mind control. I don't know exactly how many young people I meet in the moon church. I have a chance to discuss with them, but I think 250 people I have a chance to meet. And 2 years ago I have a very big chance I meet a man called Mr. Park Chung-fang and his friend Mr. Yu Yo-min and also Mr. Kim Tok-ching. There was the first people start the Moon Church in 1944 with Mr. Moon, and for many reasons, they left the church, and they give to me a lot very interesting information about the beginning of the church, and I'm sure the American people and the American Moonists didn't know about this, and even in Japan only very few people know about what these people tell me.
Mm-hmm.
And first
he wrote a book too, correct?
What?
Mr. Park Chung-fang?
Yes, Mr. Park Chung-fang wrote a book, the book was just translated only in Japanese, and the name of the book in Japanese first is Roku Maria no Higeki. Higeki in English means tragedy, Roku means 6, and Maria means like in the mother of Jesus Christ, Maria. And if you translate all in English, you can be the tragedy of the 6th Maria. And when I met Mr. Park Chung-fang, he gave to me a lot information, very old book and very old picture, And first I want to show you some picture about some women, the first wife of Mr. Moon, the second and the third wife of Mr. Moon, For the second wife of Mr. Moon, I will go to expand longer after. Mr. Moon was only married twice.
Mm-hmm.
The Moon Church said third time, but this is lie. And I make many research about this, Mr. Moon was only married twice. The first time he was married with a woman called, in Korean, Chae Song-ha, and if you pronounce in Japanese language, will be Sai Song-gil. I want to show you now the picture.
You want to? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's in this. I will to put the name here and here. I have to do this like this, and okay, this is the Chinese character. In Korean language, her name is Chae Song-ha. In Japanese language, Sai Song-gil. This is a picture of her in 1945 when she was married with Mr. Moon. Here and here at the same time. And this is a picture took in 1992 by with Mr. Park Chung-fang. Mrs. Chae Song-ha left, of course, the Moon Church, and this is now in prison, Mrs. Chae Song-ha, and during the time she was married with Mr. Moon. She was married in 1945. Just a minute. I think I have more interesting for you about her. after. The second one, the second person. The picture I want to show you is this person. Her name is Kim Mjong Hi in Korean language.
You know, put it on the bed cover. It's too white. Just take it.
Bed
Yeah.
cover like this.
Yeah, sure.
What is not too.
Let's see what we can do.
Yeah. This person, her name is in Korean language Kim Mjong Hi, and in Japanese language Kim Mjong Hi. The Munchers told the member she was the second wife of Mr. Moon, but the first member of the church told me she was never married with Mr. Moon. And her story is very sad, you know. She went to Japan and she was raped by a Japanese person. And the Munchers explained because she was raped by a Japanese person. After discussing with Mr. Moon, she decided she can be a true mother, you know. And Mr. Moon and her just separate, you know. But Mr. Moon had a child with her, and the child was killed by a train in a station. He was hurt by a train, and the child died. What we know now, she's living in Seoul, and I am not sure, but I hear also from the former member of the Munchers, the Korean Munchers, Mr. Moon gave to her a lot of money. And also, I want to show you, but I think you know her, the second wife of Mr. Moon, because I told you already Mr. Moon was married only twice. She's still now also her wife. And this was when she was 70 years old. Her name is in Japanese Kang Hak-ja, and in Korean language Hang Hak-ja. Hak-ja, yes. She's now the wife of Mr. Moon. And this when she was 70 years old, when she was married with Mr. Moon in 1960. And it was one of the baby when the Munchers start like this. But people must understand Mr. Moon was only married twice, not 3 times. This is a big lie of the Munchers. And we can prove this very easily. Many people can testify about this.
Go on.
Okay. We can do something. Can people understand more, you know, about something? Okay. This is his first wife of Mr. Moon. This is what the second. She was never married with Mr. Moon, but she had a child with Mr. Moon. She had also the child with Mr. Moon. And this is the third wife.
This is the first wife.
The first.
And this is the second, but not officially.
Not officially.
Right.
And this is now the wife, when she was 70 years old, when she was just married with Mr. Moon.
Try to get it into focus, okay?
Okay. And I want to show you after one another picture, you know. And the picture of this person with right side. Her name is Sai Jun Ka. She was also never married with Mr. Moon, but she had sexual relation with him, and between Mr. Moon and her baby born. His name is Bun Samuel in Japanese. And this...
And how do you know?
Because the former member of the Muncher told me, and this is a very famous story in Korean Muncher. When you go to Korea, it is very easy to find information about this.
And when did you go to Korea to find this out?
Last year.
Which
the first
was
time,
1993?
Yes. No, 1994.
1994.
The first time I went to Korea was 1993. But I didn't have possibility to get this information, this picture, you know. Okay. And in 1994, the second time I went to Korea, to meet also the same people and different people, you know, they give all of this picture, you know, and to explain everything, you know.
So we've seen 4 women that he's had sex with
Yes.
so far.
Yes, we can show the picture. But
And how many more women did he have sex with, Pascal?
well, this is very difficult to explain. Many times when you ask a former member, you know, the first Muncher, the people start the Munchers, you know, in 1944, they said, we can give to you the answer, we didn't know, just many.
Yeah, many means 5, 10?
More, I think so. You must understand, you know, and this was telling by me too, the former member of the Muncher, Mr. Park Chung-fan, Mr. Yu Yo-min, and Mr. Kim Toku-ching, and another people, you know, I can say the name, you know, from some women, you know. Mr. Moon said he's a new Messiah, and he said inside of his blood he didn't have, how to say it in English, you know, I forgot my English, just a moment, outseen, you know, and
Without sin.
without sin, thank you. And if said, you know, the principle of the Munchers, you know, the one woman have sexual relation with Mr. Moon directly, you know, they have possibility to receive a new blood, you know, and from this they can have a baby without sin, you know. And the former member of the Munchers, you know, and I've interview, you know, and this is writing also in the book of the Six Maria, you know, tell exactly, you know, all of the 36 couple, women, the first mass wedding, all of the women sleep with Mr. Moon.
He slept with 36
Yes.
women.
Yes.
And why did he do that?
Only because it seems to him he is a new Messiah. And the fellow men, you know, because you are former member of the Munchers, the fellow men coming from the sex between Eve and Archangel Lucifer, you know, and to have a new, you must to have a new blood, to receive a new blood, and you from this you must to have with the true Adam, the new Messiah, a sexual sexual relationship with him, and from this you can have a baby without sin. And the member I meet last year and 2 years ago in Korea was really believing in this. You know, I wanted to show you some another picture. I'm sorry, I forget to.
Okay.
Okay, now I want to show you some picture about the former member I meet in Korea, you know. First, this person, this 4 person. This is Mr. Kim Toku-ching. He wrote 19 music for Mr. Moon. Mr. Moon wrote many songs.
You mean the holy songs?
Holy song, yes. And I think American too sing the song, you know. But I forget one. I will try to call one friend after and to ask, you know, if he know the melody of the song. And I'm sure American member sing a song, and the music was written by this man.
And he's now left the church.
Oh, he left the church many years ago. His name is Mr. Kim Toku-ching. He is a pastor now, 81 years old. This is the picture of Mr. Yu Yo-min. Yu Yo-min is a cousin of Mr. Yu, the person writes the divine principle.
Looks like David Kim on the left.
Yeah.
This man on the left.
Yes. On the left is a man. In the left is Mr. Park Chung-fan. This is Mr. Park Chung-fan. These 2 men write with him and her the book called The Six Maria. This is one woman, marriage, you know. This woman, she is a cousin of Mr. Yu, the man who wrote the divine principle. She is the sister of the younger sister of Mr. Yu Yo-min. She told us in TV2, and I give to you a video tape with a very short testimony. She said she slept with Mr. Moon to be purified.
No.
And I give all to you the video of her testimony, and the video I give to you, Mr. Yo Yo Min, Park Chung Fan, Kim Toku-ching, apart a little bit. Okay, this is the picture of Mr. Kim Toku-ching when he was in a moon church.
I can't get too close to it.
You can see?
That's the best. Okay, now I...
Yeah. This is now...
And now it's...
Okay. This is a picture of Mr. Yo Yo Min when he was younger with Mr. Moon. You know? Another picture. And we can see Mr. Moon, you know, have fun, you know. And during this time, you know, Mr. Yo Yo Moon told me his cousin, Mr. Yu, was really, you know, takes time to write the divine principle. And during this time, Mr. Moon was just, you know, have fun with a friend and like this, you know.
Go on.
This is a picture now of Mr. Park Chung Fan with Mr. Moon, Mr. Park Chung Fan. During the time, you know, of the moon church, when he was in the moon church.
And Mr. Park Chung-san is on the left?
Yes, this is Mr. Park Chung Fan, this is Mr. Moon. Yes.
Okay.
And this picture, to prove I meet the people, all the people, this is my picture in 1993, the first time I meet all body with Mr. Park Chung Fan, Mr. Kim Toku-ching, of Yomi, this is me, and Mr. Yo Yo Min. And this is one of the best friend of mine, Mr. A pastor of mine, you know. Just a moment, I forgot his name in Japanese.
You can say it in Korean or French.
Yeah, but
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. What, and his name is?
the name of my friend, the pastor, is Mr. Tak Mekan. The last time I met Mr. Tak Mekan was 1 year ago, 10 days before he was killed by a member of a very strange cult in Korea. This man was a fantastic man. He made for 30 or 40 years a long work against many cults. He wrote 20 books about the problem, you know. He was many times harassment. He had many harassment from the Moon Church and also from the KCIA, the secret Korean police, you know. And he was a man able to publish the book in Korean of the Sixth Maria, you know. And 1 month before he published a book, he was killed. And because he was killed, the book of the Sixth Mary was never published in Korean language. You know, and for me it was a great loss. And I think for the Korean people work on a cult problem, to lose him was a very, very sad thing, you know. And okay. Do you have some questions you want about? I tell you until now. Do you have some question about this?
So why don't you talk about the past of where Moon got his beliefs from and his experiences?
Okay. Mr. Moon said when he was 16 years old in 1935, sometime in 1936, it depends information, he met Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ tell him, I fell in my mission and you must do what it was impossible for me to do. And Mr. Moon for many years tried to understand what exactly the truth. And he said he received from God the truth called the divine principle. And in Japan, the Moon Church explained to the member, Mr. Moon, you know, received a new truth and wrote the book between 1951 and 1952. You know, he wrote the first divine principle, you know. And the problem, you know, when you go to Korea and you have chance to go to make some research about the book writing by Mr. Moon, you become very surprised because you can find very quickly what Mr. Moon write in his book was already teaching and write long time before Mr. Moon write the divine principle. And the funny thing, you can see Mr. Moon was a member of the group, of this carbon group, who had the same teaching, you know. And I was very lucky also when I went to Korea 2 years ago and last year, because the former member, the man I show you in the picture, you know, helped me to find many good information. And I want to show you some picture, you know, and explain more about how Mr. Moon make the divine principle and how Mr. Moon is lying to the young people in America and around the world, and how the Munchers also lie to young people about the divine principle. I tell you, and I repeat, the divine principle is not coming from God, it is not coming from Mr. Moon, but it's coming from different small group in Korea. And Mr. Moon was a member of the different group before he make the Moon Church, and he used, in many parts, he used the teaching of this small different group, and he put in one book, and this book, the name of this book is a divine principle. Can I go on?
Okay.
Now I want to explain to you about how Mr. Moon make the divine principle and which book and teaching come from the divine principle. This is in 1993, in November 30, in Seoul, in hotel, in my room hotel, Mr. Park Chung-fan bring to me this book, called in Japanese Seimei no Genri, meaning the principle of the life. And you can see it's funny, you know. The book of Mr. Moon is the divine principle, and one of the teacher Mr. Moon books is calling the principle of the life. And this is the book, writing by a woman called Mrs. Teitu On. And just a minute. Here also, at her book, you know. I have the book on my place, but to bring all the book in Tokyo was very heavy, and I just to bring the picture. But I have the book on my place. And this you have the kanji of her name, and her pronunciation in English will be Te Toku On. You know, and this is a picture of Mr. Moon and Mr. Kim Mjong Hi when they start in Busan, the Moon Church. And this is the picture of Mr. Moon with Mrs. Teitu here. And you can see the same person, look. When you see this picture and this face, you can see this is Mrs. Teitu. I have a better picture after I'm going to show you. You know, it's the same person. She was a very mystical person. Her teaching is very simple. She said she is the wife of God, and she must find a young man, have sex with him, and from this the young man can be purified and can be the new Messiah.
That's incredible.
Do you know who he is, the new Messiah, and who sleep with this woman? Mr. Park Chung-fan tell me, and he's writing also in the book called The Sixth Marriage. Mr. Moon. Mr. Moon in 1946 went to North Korea and meet her, and she has a very small group. After, you know, I will go to tell you the name of the group. I forget the name, you know, but I want to tell you after. And Mr. Moon was put in a jail in North Korea, and during he was put in a jail in North Korea in 1948, he met Mr. Park Chung-fan, and Mr. Park Chung-fan, I have his testimony in, I interviewed him, told me, Mr. Moon told him, he have sexual relationship with this woman, and he start to be purified and become a new Messiah from this.
He told you that Moon had a sexual relationship.
Yes.
He didn't have a sexual relationship with her.
Yeah, Mr. Moon had sexual relation with her, you know,
Right.
and he told Mr. Park Chung-fan.
Ah.
And Mr. Park Chung-fan told me 2 years ago, and I gave his testimony in cassette, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And also Mr. Park Chung-fan tell this problem in his book called The Six Marries, you know. If there's possibility to translate the book in English would be very interesting for the young people in America. And the funny thing, you know, when you see the book writing by Mrs. Tejto Kwon, you can find 17 very important points are exactly the same than you find in the divine principle.
Can you tell us some of those?
The true family, you know, the 4 position of family
4-position foundation.
foundation is not the thinking of Mr. Moon, but the thinking of this woman, you know, Mrs. Tejto Kwon, you know. For example, Miss Eve make love with Argent Girl. You can find the same teaching in her book.
This one.
This woman. This woman. And I will go to show you another picture more interesting, you know, about this. Let's go. Okay. This is a book, the real book she wrote. A small book, you know.
Yeah, I wish I had a copy of the book to photograph.
Yeah, but you know, this book, Mr. Takmekka, you know, the pastor was killed, you know. He had this book, you know, and permit him to take picture of the book. It's not big book, you know. You know.
So tell us some more parallels. 4-position foundation.
4-position parallels, you know, the fall of man is the same. Also the, you know, the 3 step, you know.
Formation, growth, perfection.
Yes, you find exactly the same thing, you know. You find also about Abraham make a mistake and like this, you know. And also all of the religion be one, you know, must be one, you know, or the religion. And also point like this, you know.
It's amazing.
Yeah, very amazing, you know. And it is difficult, of course, for the young Japanese to see her book and to understand. For the young American people, sorry. But for the young Japanese, it's much easier because the old book in Korean language use the Japanese character. And even you didn't read Korean, if you look the Japanese character, you can understand very easily. It is the same teaching, you know, like this. And one thing very important, you know, and I want to show you now, you know, in the book. Please come here. Here, you know, just a moment. It may be difficult, but let's try and do this, you know. You know about Mr. Lee Yohane? In her book, you can find the name of Mr. Lee Yohane.
Who is Lee?
Mr. Lee Yohane, he's a very old member of the Moon Church. He's in Japan, I mean Hokkaido, in my place. He's a leader of the Moon Church in Hokkaido. This man, you know, said Mr. Moon is a new Christ and like this, you know, and teach about the divine principle. But this man is a liar, because this man first was a member of the group of Mrs. Tejto Kwon. That is interesting, you know. Like this. And the funny thing now, you know, in divine principle, you know, the 4 position of the family and like this, you know, I just told you, you know, Mr. Tejto Kwon said she was a wife of God and she was looking for the young man, you know, have sexual relation with him and start the 4 position of the family, you know. And Mr. Moon, what said Mr. Moon? I am the new Christ and I'm looking for the young woman. She can be the new Eve, and from this we can make the 4 position of family, you know. Mr. Moon just took the teaching of Mrs. Tejto Kwon and put, you know, like this. You understand what I mean?
Yes, but if I was an American member of the church, I would say, how do I trust Pascal? Why should I trust Pascal?
I think, you know, do what I does, come to Korea, meet the people, start to understand what exactly it is. I think it's very important. I know the young Moonists in America believe in Mr. Moon, but I think, you know, truth and belief is different. I can say I believe this, I think this, but the truth can be different. And even I said I believe in this, and the truths are different. You know, I think it is very important for the young people. You know, we hear my voice and see the information I show to them. It is very important to start to understand and to think why the Moon Church in America didn't expand about this. You know, and I think I told many times the young Japanese Moon Church, if you didn't believe me, go to Korea, go by yourself, look, ask many different people, you know. You have the book, you have the people can tell you. What if one person tell you like this, you can say, maybe this person is lying. But when you see different people in different part of Korea telling you about the same thing, showing to you many information, and when you try to discuss with the Japanese Moon Church, as I said, we didn't know, this is just a lie. I think we must think again, you know, about exactly what said the Moon Church, you know. I think it is very important, you know, to see by himself, you know, to think by himself, not only Moon Church said this on this, you know. You must to verify everything, you know. And for myself, you know, I'm going around the world to try to find many information about the Moon Church, you know. And what is important for me to find the books, all picture, to meet people, to make interview to them, you know. And from this, you know, I went to many different countries, you know. I have a chance to discuss with many different people from Moon Church, you know, and all members. And I think it's very important, you know, to understand when you have a chance to discuss with different members of the very old Moon Church, you know, Korean or American or European, they tell about this. They tell almost the same thing, you know. And of course, you know, if you didn't understand Japanese or Korean, sometimes it is difficult, you know. But Mr. Moon said, I have a new truth. I wrote the new truth, the divine principle. Only me, you know, knows about what is writing in this book. And the book was writing first by Mr. Moon in 1951 and 1952. And after the divine principle in Korean, the first time was writing in 1957. And the first time she was translated in Japanese was in 1966. But we can find a book writing by another mystical person long time before Mr. Moon write the divine principle, telling us about the same thing. And we know Mr. Moon was the member of this group. I think it is difficult to say how do you say in English, sorry. This is not truth, this is a lie, you know. You must remember what Mr. Moon tell you. Only him find the truth. Only him write the truth. And this why between 1951 and 1952. But if you find some person write a book long time before telling you about the same thing, I think you must reevaluate again, think again about what said Mr. Moon. You know, I think it's very important.
So Pascal, you said that you actually talked to a woman who said she had sex with Moon?
Yeah, I show you the picture.
Yeah.
Before. And she talked also in TV, you know. And I gave to you the video, you know.
Did you talk to any other women who had sex with Moon?
No.
Just one woman.
Just one. But, you know, I can introduce to you another person, you know. They talk with different person, you know. And I want to show you one more thing, you know. It's a book writing by Mr. Kim Mjong Hi, and in Korean it's called Mr. Mjong Kim. And I want first to show you about this picture. Mr. Moon said he was in an Israel monastery, you know, in 1945. and he meets a man called Mr. Kim Yakubun, or in Korean language, Paekmun Kim. And in Japanese Muncher, they said the Israel monastery was the biggest church in Korea. You know, the most powerful Christian church in Korea during this time. But I went to Mr. Paekmun Kim church. I went to the Israel monastery. This is the Israel monastery.
You're kidding.
I am not kidding, Steve. It's true. And this is one of the last.
Looks like a little house.
Yes. And this is one of the last disciples of Mr. Paekmun Kim with me. And he, for 2 days, he gives to me a lecture of the teaching of Mr. Kim Yakubun. The name of this man is Shin Hyung Shin, you know. And this is him with my friend in 1993, December 3rd, you know.
This is a picture of him.
Yeah, here with him, you know. His Japanese is perfect. We discuss in Japanese. And here, this is a niece of Mr. Paekmun Kim, in the same place.
This is a niece.
Of Mr.
She's
Paekmun
walking.
Kim. Yes, yes, she's walking. And discuss a little bit with her too, you know. And she said to me, Mr. Moon used a lot of the teaching of his uncle. And this is an old picture of the Israel monastery, you know.
Monastery of Israel.
Yes.
What was the teaching of the Monastery of Israel, do you know?
Of course. Okay, you have another picture, you know, of the monastery of Israel here. And give me a little bit time. Mr. Paekmun Kim wrote this is Mr. Paekmun Kim when he was very young. He died in 1990 and born in 1970. He wrote 3 books. The first book he wrote here, called in Japanese Seishin Shingaku. And he wrote another book here called just a moment, please. Christ Kompongenlich. You know, the principle of the Christianity. You know? And he wrote another book, I have the book here, you know, about the face, you know.
About the what?
Shinko Jinkakuron means about the face, no.
Face.
What kind of face you must to have. Okay, I will to explain something to you, explain to me by the last one of the last disciples of Mr. Moon. Take the picture, please. Here. This is a 3 book writing by Mr. Kim Yakubun. You know, Mr. Moon told about the 3 steps, you know. Do you remember in English? No, 3 steps.
Formation, growth, and perfection.
This is a formation. This is a growth. And the last thing in English, what you said?
Perfection.
Perfection. And all together, this is a new Bible. What exactly said Mr. Moon? In the first book, you know, you understand the man fell from the sexual relation between Eve and the archangel Lucifer. The second book, you know, you find 3 divine principles, you know, and these 3 principles you can have step by step the possibility, you know, to become a new man, you know, to reborn, you know, and to become the perfect man, you know. And the last book is, if you follow this phase, you can really become a perfect man. What exactly said Mr. Moon, you know. And Mr. Kim Yakubun, or in Korean language Paekmun Kim, is teaching to teach the disciple about this in 1940. Means long time before Mr. Moon write the divine principle.
So he stole everything.
If you want to say stole, yes. I think he used many things, you know. He used different books. I think the book of Mrs. Tejto, writing was a long time before. and the book of the teaching of Mr. Kim Mjong Hi to put one teaching, you know, and he called this teaching the divine principle, you know. And when you read Korean language and Japanese, and you see the Japanese Korean divine principle, you understand very quickly it is the same thing. I want to show you something, and I have here, gentlemen, please. This is, I have the book with me, you know. I have all the book in my, this is Christ Kompong Genri, the principle of the Christianity. And this is here, you know, and you find something, Sozo Genri, Daraku Genri, Fuki Genri. It is exactly the same writing in the Japanese divine principle. You know, this is a principle of the beginning, you know, when the God created everything.
Principles of creation.
Creation, principle of fall.
Of the fall.
And principle of
restoration.
Restoration.
Wow.
And this is not, this three thing is not the thinking of Mr. Moon, but of Mr. Pek Moon Kim. And when you see another different, you know, how do you say in English? Different, another book, another information, you know, document, you know, it is very difficult to say what exactly Mr. Moon write by himself. Very, very difficult.
Because there's so little.
Yeah. I think Mr. Moon, you know, what I hear, you know, by Mr. Park Chung-fan, Yu Yo-min, and another former member of the Moon Church, Mr. Moon from this different teaching wrote 2 notebooks. I have the picture in my house. One time I'm going to show you. It was sent to you in America, you know. And from these 2 small notebooks, you know, he gave this to the Mr. Yu, and Mr. Yu for 4 years really, you know, takes time and write the divine principle. You know? And the funny thing, you know, I have a friend, he's a former member, sorry, of the Moon Church in Japan. His name is Mr. Taguchi, Tamiyo Taguchi. And Mr. Tamiyo Taguchi, you know, was in the beginning when the Moon Church in Japan was created, you know. And he had the chance to meet many times Mr. Moon and Mr. Yu, the man who wrote the divine principle, together. And he remembered one thing very, very important, you know. In 1998, when Mr. Moon came to Japan, you know, with Mr. Yu, Mr. Taguchi asked the question about the divine principle to Mr. Moon directly. And Mr. Moon gave this answer. Oh, you know, Mr. Yu wrote the divine principle, Mr. Yu is with you. Ask the question to him, he knows better than me. And Mr. Moon left the room, and Mr. Yu Yo-min explained everything after. Nice. And I have many different information like this, you know.
Did Mr. Yu Yo-min explain why he left after being a follower for so long?
The man who wrote the divine principle, Mr. Yu, died. But the cousin, the picture I showed to you before, explained to me. You must understand, the first follower of the Moon Church was really, maybe for Americans it is difficult to understand, was really believing if their wife was making love with Mr. Moon, they can have the baby without sin. Mr. Yu Yo-min, Park Chung-fan, every former member said we was really believing in this. But Mr. Yu Yo-min told me, why children born without sin can make sin? And he saw, you know, the many children and his home children, you know, of the first 36 couple, you know.
Yes.
When he see the children was lying and made many bad things, you know, like all normal children, you know, he said, just a moment, a baby born without sin can make sin. And he started to see Mr. Moon using money, doing many very strange things, you know. And he said the problem with Mr. Moon, he does everything except what is writing in divine principle. And Mr. Yu Yo-min and many other former members said there was very surprised because Mr. Moon teaching, you know, and what is doing Mr. Moon is so different, you know. You know.
For example?
For example, you know, with money, with respect with the people, you know, and everything like this, you know. And the big problem was, you know, when the baby was born, you know, and growing, you know, they was making sin, you know. And for Mr. Yoyomi, you know, this was one of the biggest thing, you know. What's Mr. Moon, you know, baby will be born without sin, not making sin. And what was the reality was too different, you know. Between what said Mr. Moon, what is writing in Divine Principle, and what Mr. Moon is doing, the reality is so different. When many member was really believing, you know, the really believer was looking this, they become to have doubt. And the doubt become bigger and bigger. And they start to make some research. And they start to understand about Mr. Paek Mun Kim, about Mrs. Tejto Kwon, and about many things like this. And they decide to stop the Moon Church. Like this. You know.
What is your understanding of how Moon came to be involved with the Korean government?
I think, you know, what is writing in the Fraser document.
The congressional investigation in the United States?
Yes. Yes. And Mr. Moon have many travel, you know, but in 1957, 4 soldiers, in particular Mr. Park Bo-hee, came inside of the Moon Church. And from this, the Moon Church started to become a group using by the current government, you know. But I think I don't need to tell you because you give to me a document, you know, writing by Mr. Fraser, you know, and everything is true. Yeah. This is everybody in Japan knows about the problem. You know? And my friend, Mr. Takme Kan, the pastor, was killed last year, you know, in 1978, tried to write a book about again the Moon Church and about many pictures. I'm going to show you now, you know. And he was put in jail by the KCIA for 3 days. Was beating, and the KCIA told him, if you publish a book, we will kill you. And he was obliged from this to sign the paper to say he was a liar and the book was not true.
Because he was afraid of being killed.
Yes. And the book was never published, you know. And Mr. Takmekang, you know, permit me the first time and the second time when I went to see him to take picture about his book, and I want to show you now the book. That's all right?
Yes.
The name of the book also is writing in just a minute, sorry. It's easy because it writes also the name. The real fact of the Unification Church. The picture of the sea of the woman, how the women sleep directly with Mr. Moon.
So
some of them.
His picture is here on the right?
Yes. This is Mr. Takmekang.
This is the man who was killed.
Was killed last year by a very strange cult member with knife. Beat him and kill him after with a knife.
Yeah.
You must understand.
I don't know that we can see these pictures too well, but we can see Moon and his wife in the middle with the
and
crowns.
People here, you know, some women sleep with Mr. Moon. And you have also the picture of Mrs. Tejto Kwon, of course, here. You know, and her teaching, I told you already, how the same teaching then the Moon Church. And in the teaching of Mr. Paek Mun Kim and the teaching of Mrs. Tejto Kwon, it is writing Jesus Christ didn't have a chance to be married, to have a relation, sexual relation, you know, and for this he fell, you know, and Mary made the stupid mistake to marry with Joseph, in the teaching of Mr. Pek Monkin, and in particular of Mrs. Tetekwon, you know, they told Mary was give all time to commitment to Jesus Christ, to find for Jesus Christ a wife. But because she's married with Joseph, was impossible. She make a mistake, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And in the book of Mrs. Tetekwon, she explained Jesus Christ will find a woman and make love with her and purify her, like this, you know. And the teaching of Mr. Moon is very close, you know. And the teaching also of Mr. Kim Hyakubun is very close too, you know. And in this book of Mr. Takumeka, you can see many very old picture, you know. During the old time. And particularly this picture is very strange, you know. Here you can see the baby, you know, when the baby born, they put a crown on the baby, you know.
Mr. Moon's baby.
Baby, yes. Put a crown on.
Was that Hyojin?
I think so. The first one. Put a crown on. And for example, another interesting picture, you know, you can see Mr. Moon with many women every time. I don't see the picture yet. You had a chance to see this picture in America, you know.
No, never.
A very old picture.
So you took these pictures out of his book that was
Yes.
never published.
Never published. And also the funny picture here was a woman, you know, have the crown, you know. In particular, you can see many women around Mr. Moon during this time. And I want to show you another picture, you know, very interesting picture about Mr. Sasagawa during the meeting with Mr. Muncher's meeting in Korea. This is Mr. Sasagawa, the right fascism in Japan, you know. That's Mr. Moon.
Who is the woman?
I think he's a wife of another person is here, you know. That's Mr. Sasagawa, he's here.
Oh, I see.
Mr. Sasagawa helped the Muncher to come in Japan. And the funny thing, you know, Steve, and young people must understand, the Munchers didn't come first to teach the divine principle. The first time the Munchers come was not like a religion, but like, I think, you know, Shokyo Rengo, the victory against the communism.
Political.
The first time the Muncher come to Japan was with a political group, you know, and some years after, they have the possibility with Mr. Sasagawa to make the Munchers a religion in Japan, like this. But you must understand, the first time when the Muncher come in Japan was not a religion for religion, but for political thing. With a group called in Japanese Shokyo Rengo, as a group was making by Mr. Pak Bo-hee, sorry, in 1957, you know. And because the group was against the communism, Mr. Sasagawa, one of the fascists in Japan, you know, accepted them, but now they are blocked because they have the problem, because the thinking is very different. Mr. Moon seems is God, and the fascist, Japanese fascists, you know, just look the Japanese emperor like a god, you know. Okay, can I have a minute?
Ready?
Okay, this is a different picture of different person, you know. Have some different group, you know, and this teacher was mystical person, and their teaching, you know, in many ways look like the divine principle. I told you already about Mrs. Tejto. She wrote the Seimen Ogenni, means the life, the principle of the life. This is with Mr. Moon. This is Mr. Kim Yakubun, or Pekmun Kim in Korean language. What I told you already about the 3 books. Now this is one more person. Her name is Mrs. Kim Son-do, and her group was Fukuchukyo. And she said she received in 1923 she received a new truth from God. And the new truth from God she received said Jesus Christ, when he died on the cross, make a mistake. He didn't come to be put in the cross, but for married. She understood the fall of man was from the relation sexual between between the archangel Lucifer and Eve, and she understand also Jesus Christ didn't go to the cross by his home, but the Israel people make a mistake. But it's funny because it was in 1923, long time before Mr. Moon received the same thing, you know. And it is funny because we can see in different Japanese Muncher's book telling her teaching was the same. And she was teaching this in her group, you know. And the funny thing, the mother of the last wife, the 3rd wife of Mr. Moon, was a member of this group. And Jack won this group too. She's coming from this group. Coincidence? I don't know. Little bit strange. And you must understand, it is difficult maybe, you must understand, during the year 1930 until the year 1950 in Korea, many mystical persons came and created a small group, and almost all have the same thinking and the same teaching you can find in the large part in the divine principle. And Mr. Moon went different group like this, no? One more thing, these 2 men here. One man, he is Mr. In Yondo. Mr. In Yondo died in 1932, but in his teaching too, some parts look like the divine principle. And Mr. Moon never met him, but when he was young, went to the group of this man. But this man was already died when Mr. Moon went, but the teaching was on. You must understand. And one more man here, this man is Mr. Pek Nanjin. His teaching too look like little bit the teaching of Mr. Moon. And also all these kind of people, you know, were thinking it was very important to have a sexual relation, you know, to reborn again, you know, to get a new blood like this, you know. And this time, this kind of person, of course, are not the true Korean Christianity. And Mr. Moon told them, this is our true Christianity, but no. This was look like from the true Christianity in Korea cult. And they have many, many problems. But all of the person together was a friend almost in language. You must understand, you know.
Pascal, you've studied the Bible and you've counseled many people in the Moon cult. So how do you explain to them about the fall of man? Because many people coming out are confused and are afraid.
For myself, you know, I just ask them to tell me, you know, where exactly is writing in the Bible, you know, where exactly is writing Eve make love with archangel, you know. And if you look the Bible, you know, you can see he didn't have any proof the archangel make love with Eve, you know. And every time when we look the Bible, I'm just trying to push them to look exactly what is writing in the Bible.
I see.
This is very important. And you must understand, in your country is a little bit different because your country is more Christian, all Christian country, you know. Young Japanese people, didn't know the Christianity and didn't know the Bible. I didn't try to become Christian. This is not my work. But I tried to push them to understand what is Christianity, what is the Bible, what exactly is writing on the Bible, what is the history of the Bible. I push them sometimes to understand more the Greek language or the Hebrew language, to understand more about the meaning, you know, only this language.
So what are the main points that you think in your counseling of young Japanese helps them to reevaluate their commitment?
First, I try to put them, you know, to understand about the mind control, you know. I think it's very important, you know. And one thing is important, to push them to think again before they went the group, was what kind of things I was searching, you know, and why they went to the group, you know. It is very important why I do this. It is easy because many young people, you know, when they go to the group, want to find something, but what they find on the group was not what they were looking for. You know, I have the young friend, you know her, you meet her 2 years ago, Mrs. Sanana, you know. Her hope, you know, was to go to Africa like a volunteer. She is nurses, you know. And the Moon Church promised her, with us you can go to Africa and do to work like a volunteer for people, you know, like nurses. And she was married with the current people, you know. And when I counseling her, I asked her, what is the connection between married with the current people person and to go to Africa to work like volunteer, you know, like nurses. And she started thinking and saying, you have no connection. And I said, the first time you went to the Moon Church, your hope was to go to Korea, to marry with Korea, to believe to the Messiah. She said, no, very different. And from this, she started to think again, you know, why she went to the Moon Church, start to study Bible, what is actually the mind control, and she stopped. And you meet her 2 years ago, you discussed with her, and I'm very happy to say to everybody, this person she's all right. And the next month, the 20th of next month, she will go to Africa for 3 months to work like volunteer, you know, to help African people, you know, to know more about what is nurses and like this, you know.
And how long had she been in the church?
2 years and a half. You know, 2 years and a half.
And a few years ago, there was a mass wedding in Seoul, Korea. Could you tell us about that? What's your understanding of
what we know? Because many people left the church. You know, many people left the church. You know, many people was married. You know, 2 years ago by Moon left the church. Now this mass wedding is just like you know. This time, you know, in 1992, many people came to Korea, you know, to be married. It was a big mass wedding, you know. But few months after, many people left the group, you know. And 2 years after, I don't know exactly how many people, you know, but a lot. And I'm counseling 20 people.
I mean, isn't it true that some of the people who were in the wedding never even heard of the divine principle?
Of course.
Well, tell us. I think it's very surprising to Americans to hear.
To American people, maybe surprising, but for young Japanese, no, because the Japanese Moon Church tell this time the follower of the Japanese Moon Church, because Mr. Moon have a victory. You have possibility to be married with the people who didn't have a face. And before the young people went to Korea to the mass wedding, they already knows they can maybe marry with a person who didn't have a face, but they was not afraid, because the Japanese Moon Church told them, then Mr. Moon had a victory, and it was possible to be married with people without face.
So would any two people be matched who weren't involved at all, or is it just someone in the church could be matched to someone who is a non-believer?
We hear many things for the member left the church during this time and a few couple of months, you know. What we know, some people, two of them didn't have any faith.
Mm-hmm.
We hear many strange things about this wedding, you know.
And how much money did people have to pay to be part of the wedding? You know?
I don't know in dollar, but in Japanese yen, you know. First, rokujuma, you know. Maybe rokujuma, I don't know exactly in English, in dollar, you know, but a lot of money.
How many yen?
60,000 yen.
60,000 yen, so that would be 600?
600 10 000, no? 60,000.
Oh, 60,000, right. So
yeah.
that would be...
Just to go to the wedding.
Yeah.
Because after return to the Japan, the young people was told they must to pay twice.
What do you mean they'd have to pay twice?
The first time they pay 60,000.
Yeah.
And after they must to pay 16 and 60,000, you know, more.
I don't understand.
I must mean, you know, 60,000
120,000? 120,000.
Yes, 120,000 yen. More.
So it would be 180,000
yes.
in total.
Yes, in total.
So that's $118 if that's 100 yen, but we know that there's probably about what, 85 or 90 yen. And that was times, how many couples were there?
30,000.
30,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
They made.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yes.
Hmm. So tell us about the status of the spiritual sales situation and what that was in Japan.
About?
Spiritual sales.
Selling the...
Hmm.
Yeah, you know, in Japan, Japanese are Shintoist or Buddhist, you know, and they believe of the death of the ancestor, you know, and the spirit of the ancestor, you know, and many Japanese want to help the spirit of the ancestor to have a better life, to go to paradise and like this, you know. And in particular, Japanese women and Japanese housewife are really believing in this, you know, and tailor selling and like this, you know. And the Moon Church in Japan, you know, start to understand very well the problem, you know, and start, you know, to teach the young people, the young Japanese member, how to telling,
fortune telling,
palm
reading,
you know, fortune telling, you know. And after teaching them 6 months or many months, you know, how to do this, you know, many tricks about this, you know, that ask the young follower to go outside, you know, to go to see housewife, you know, in the house, you know, and ask them, do you want I see you telling fortune like this, you know. And the Japanese women in particular are very weak about this, you know. And they start to look the hand and say, oh yes, do you have the problem with your husband? I think, do you not have the problem with your children, you know? And from this question, the Japanese woman, oh yes, what do you know? And the woman was start to explain everything and said, oh yeah, I know. But this time, you know, the young Muni said, saying, you know, I'm just studying about this. I don't know many things, you know. But you know, you have a very big chance because tomorrow, in some place in our group, you know, a very famous fortune teller will come. You must come to see him. And the next day, you know, the Japanese woman with a young person, they went to some place, you know. But of course, they didn't know. The person didn't know the old person was, how you said, you know.
In the group.
In the group, you know, Moon Church. They never hear about the Moon Church, you know. And sometimes they meet this very famous fortune teller, you know, and sometimes from 10 hours, 15 hours, 17 hours, with no possibility to go outside, you know. They was telling them, you know, your ancestors are very bad, you must do something, you must give money. And to help the ancestor, you know, to have a better life, to go to paradise, you know, the Japanese munchers start to sell vase or different things like this, you know, but very, you know, how to say, no, very expensive thing.
Mm.
And from this fraud, you know, they make a lot of money, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But some people, you know, was doing this in the munchers, you know, left the munchers, and tell the lawyer, and tell the police.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1981, a big scandal happened, you know, and 60,000 people, you know, asked the lawyer, all Japan, you know, asked the lawyer, you know, to help them to get back the money. And in Japan, was a very difficult time for the Japanese munchers, and the scandal was called Reikansho Ho in Japanese. I don't know exactly how to say it in English. But the Japanese and the munchers still to do this, you know, now, but they have a lot of trouble, money trouble, you know. And the Japanese sell many things like this, you know. And the Japanese muncher use the, you know, the face of the Japanese person about Buddhism, Shintoist, you know. They use the person, you know, believe in this kind of fortune teller like this, you know. But if you come to Japan, I can introduce to you many lawyers know very well the problem. I can introduce to you the young people was doing this, you know, to you. You know, if some American TV want to make a very good show, they can come to Japan. I can introduce to them many people. They can make demonstration. They can explain to you what they are doing, you know, and they can prove exactly the muncher was doing things, and all the money went to Mr. Moon, of course. Like this, you know.
And there were some court decisions already?
Yeah, last year was one court decision, or the muncher lost, you know, this court, you know.
And it was millions of dollars.
Yes, millions of dollars, you know.
So, what is the status of the Moon Church now, do you think, in Japan and Korea?
They have a lot of problem with the money problem, very strong problem. Many young people left the Moon Church now, not very well. And for example, you know, tomorrow I return to Sapporo, and I meet her only twice. I will meet again a young woman. She was married by Moon in 1992 with a Korean person. She went to meet her husband for 1.5 years in Korea, and she said the life was so difficult, very strange. The muncher have so many problems. She started to have many big doubts, and she left the Moon Church. But now she wants to be counseling because she is afraid about many things, you know. And she told me, you know, the Moon Church in Korea asked the Japanese woman to, when they were speaking to their husband, to call the husband Messiah, my Messiah. And every time when they have the problem, they oblige them to go to see the fortune teller, you know. And of course the fortune teller take every time money from them, and they didn't have any money, you know. And you know, they have a lot of problem because the Japanese, the Korean didn't like the Japanese, you know, because very long history, struggle history about this, you know, because the Japanese army does so many bad things in Korea, you know. And she said it was a very difficult time for her, you know. And she started to understand the munchers were wrong, and the divine principle was wrong. And she had one time possibility to return to see her parents in Sapporo, and she left the Moon Church, you know. And now we finished the counseling her, and she want to divorce, you know. And yesterday she went to see the lawyer, you know, to ask the lawyer to help her, you know, how to can get a divorce from her Korean husband.
So you know many people who've divorced.
Oh yeah, I can introduce to you many of them. And another people doing the same work in Japan, I can introduce to you many of them. And you can hear, you can discuss with some people and hear many very sad story about this. You know? I hope if one time really in American TV, you know, want to make a show, a very serious show about the muncher, they can come to Japan, meet a lot young member, you know. They can hear about their problem, you know. They can see the document they have, you know. and they can become very, very surprised about the problem. You know, I really hope, you know, one day American TV can come to Japan to see the problem and to understand more about the problem of the Japanese munchers, the terrible struggle they do, you know. And in particular now, many young American people, Japanese people go to your country now, you know, to work for the munchers, you know, because the biggest munchers around the world, it is in Japan. And many of the money, but this is not true, you know, can former member in America can testify about this thing too. Many of the money are using in American munchers come from the fundraising in Japan, you know.
Right.
You know, and I think the American TV, you know, I really hope one American TV can come to Japan and can make a TV program about this. You know.
Yes. And what do you hear about Russia and the Moon Church in Russia?
They try to do many things in Russia too, you know. They look, they have many followers, you know. But in Russia too, you know, they didn't have many money, too, you know. And it's not easy for Mr. Moon to work in Russia about this, you know. I know he translates some books in Russian language, you know, and he gives a book to many different schools. And one of my friends in St. Petersburg, you know, he's teacher in one university in St. Petersburg, you know, was obliged with another friend to write 500 letters to different school, high school and junior high school, to tell them about the problem of the book he was using, you know. Mr. Moon was write a book, you know, like high school book, you know, to study, you know, but was only about the moon church, you know. But he was using many things from Russia, history, poetry from Russia, you know. It was very difficult for people who didn't know about the moon church, but exactly what the book was. Looked like the book like study for children, you know. And my friend, you know, understood very quickly about the problem, you know. He said he wrote, yes, I told you already, 500 letters to different schools, high school, junior high school, primary school, university, to say, be careful about this book. But I don't think so. Mr. Moon in Russia can be grow very fast, because the Russian traditional Christianity are very strong and start to do many things against the cult now too. And they have also the problem with Om Shinnikyo in Russia, you know, and I think from this, the Russian will start to be more carefully with the cult. You know.
So, in summary, about what you learned, especially in Korea, about the early days of the Moon Church, what words do you have to share with someone who would be watching this, who is a believer?
I think, you know, read very carefully the divine principle. And also think Mr. Moon every time explain about Tamar, Judah, Bathsheba, and the King David, Zechariah, and Maria have sexual relation, you know, together to have a new blood line, you know. Start really to understand exactly what want to say the divine principle about this. And if you really understand what teach the divine principle about this, you will understand why Mr. Moon, in the beginning, slept with so many women, in particular with a 36 couple, you know. And I want to tell you in the end, and if you want me to come to see me in Japan from a member of the Moon Church, I can introduce to you many former member of the Japanese Moon Church was teaching inside of the Moon Church. Why teaching why Mr. Moon slept with a thirsty couple? No,
with the 36 plus couple?
Yes, they have the teaching in the Moon Church.
You've met people who are teaching it?
Yes.
Why were they teaching it?
Because many young people were so surprised when they hear about this, left the Moon Church. And the Moon Church start to think that it was very important to teach them why Mr. Moon does this. And I had I didn't bring this time with me, but I had the lecture, you know, given by me given by former member of the Moon Church here directly this lecture, you know.
Let me understand. A former member was given notes about this?
No. The former member give to me
Yeah.
the lectures I receive. They hear
Oh,
inside.
they took notes of someone who lectured.
And they give this note to me. You know, and I know exactly. And it's funny thing, you know, when you start to look carefully what's said, some teacher inside the Muncher about this problem, is you can find similar thing in the teaching of the different person. I told you. And in particular of the first, because I have a chance to get the copy of the first Divine Principle writing directly by Mr. Moon, and you can find inside of this Divine Principle the teaching about this. You know, easy. What tell me the young people, you know, the former member of the Munchers? A man called Mr. Okay. A teacher called Mr. Hiro in 1992 gave in different parts of Japan, and many young people hear about his lecture, you know. The lecture was simple. Jesus Christ didn't have a chance to make love with a woman. And Judas Iscariot, no? The man betrayed Jesus Christ. His wife was Maria Magdalena. Of course, you didn't find this stupid thing in the Bible. Of course. And Jesus Christ, in this teaching, said Jesus Christ must to make love with Maria Magdalena. You know, like Judah and Tamar, Bathsheba and David, the King David, Zechariah and Mary, you know. And the same thing, you know. And because Judas betrayed Jesus Christ died on the cross, and Jesus Christ didn't have the possibility to have love with Maria Magdalena. And because of this, Mr. Moon, when he made the 36th couple, you know, was obliged to sleep with a woman, because the woman have the same position than Maria Magdalena, and their husband have the same position than Judas. And to put in a good position the man, Mr. Moon was obliged to sleep with the 36th woman of the first mass wedding. He does what Jesus Christ didn't do. You know.
Do you think that he really believed that this is true, or he just wanted to have a lot of sex with people?
I don't know. You know, it's difficult to say. You know, my friend, the pastor was killing in last year in Kórei, you know, said to me. I asked the same question. You know, do you think Mr. Moon believe in this? And he said, I think now really. In his head, you know, he become Jesus Christ, he become like a God, you know. Nothing is possible, Mr. Moon, believe in this, you know. But I think, you know, Steve, you know more than me about the cult problem, you know. I think in many of the cult leader, you know, in the end, you know, believe what they said, you know. Some of them didn't believe what they said, but some of them, I think so, believe what they said, you know. Become what they said, you know. And I'm sure Mr. Moon believed in what he said, you know. He's like a god, like a king, you know. With a crown like this, you know.
Right. It's incredible. Do you have any comments about lying or deception in the Moon Church?
Oh, you know, you have a book in America called the Guinness book, no? With a record, you know. The same friend, Mr. Takme, the person who was killed last year, you know. The last time I see him, you know, he was in the car, you know, and was discussing, you know. And in 1982, the Guinness record books, you know, put Mr. Moon and said Mr. Moon has a record of the the person, you know, married in one time, you know, many
mass wedding.
And my friend said, but you know, Pascal, the Guinness record must to write again the name of Mr. Moon, because Mr. Moon had a record, you know, for one thing, and I think nobody can have the same record. It's about lying. I think Mr. Moon lying, you know, you can put in this Guinness book, you know, the record about lying, and I think Mr. Moon will be the top, you know. And I asked my friend, what do you think about the moon church? If some person asks you to explain what is a moon church, and my friend started to think for a few minutes, he said, it is easy, Pascal. At the beginning is light, in the middle is a light, and in the end of the moon church is a light, and the total is a big lie. You know, it is difficult. Many things. Mr. Moon is lying. Every time he's lying. He's lying about the teaching, you know. He's lying about many things, you know. He's lying when he told the young people, you know, I know exactly what kind of husband you must to have, you know. And I will go to show you one example, you know, about the lying of the moon church, you know. For example, you know, Mr. Moon have many mass wedding, you know. And in 1988 was a 6,500 mass wedding. In 1988, sorry. And this time, you know, many of the young women, you know, went for 7 years, 8 years to the moon church, was married with a Korean person, you know. And my friend, I can introduce her to you, you know. She's married now, she will have the baby, you know. She was telling by the moon church, don't worry, your husband is Korean. He have a very strong face. He have a how do you say in English, you know? 3
spiritual children?
Yes, thank you. And she was really believing this because the moon church and Mr. Moon tell her about this. But after she was married, what she understand? Her husband didn't believe Mr. Moon was the Messiah, and he didn't have any face, and she was very, very deeply, how do you say in English? She had a very big deception, you know, and she left the moon church. I can tell you about many things like this, you know, but I think if one day you have the possibility to, or some person have possibility to come to Japan to interview many people, you know, I think it will be much better, you know, to meet a young former member of the moon church in Japan and ask them about this deception. We have so many. They every time lie, you know. If you go to Korea, you will have a good work, you will find a good life, and it's not true, you know. If you go to Africa, you know, you will see our church is very strong, and when they go to Africa, they didn't find anything, you know. Every time it's like this, you know. But Mr. Moon said, give many prophecy, you know, and all of the prophecy fall, you know. I like this, you know.
Any last words before we finish? What you like to say?
And the last word, you know, I want to tell the people, I'm sorry because my English is not perfect. It's not easy sometimes to understand what to say in English. It's easier to me to speak in French or in Japanese. But I want to tell the young people again, you know, of course you believe Mr. Moon is a Messiah. You find some love in this group. You find some answers in this group. You find something good for you. But I think, you know, it is very important, you know, to try to, by yourself, to find information, to hear about any kind of information, you know. Not because Mr. Moon said, is a lie, to sing is a lie. Not just a thing by what said the group, by what said Mr. Moon or another leader of the group, you know. It's very important to try to see by yourself, to think by yourself, you know. You know, when Mr. Moon said this man is bad, you must to try to find information to understand why this man is bad or this man is wrong. I think it is very important to look by yourself, to search by yourself, to find information, and after find many information, think again by yourself. And see exactly if this man is bad or no. But anytime the problem with young people be involved in a cult, you know, when the cult said yes, young people said yes. When the cult leader said no, young people said no. And for myself, I repeat, it is important, even you trust the person, even you love the leader, when the leader says something against another person, or when the leader trying to, you know, and you said in English, you know, when some people said something against the leader, you know, and the leader want to, you know,
cover it up.
Cover that up, you know. You must try to look by yourself, you know, because if the leader is covering something, or if the group is covering something, you know, and you didn't know, I think it's very, very tragic thing, you know, and in the end you can make a very big mistake, you know. And I think it's very important to know about all of the truth. Of course, sometimes to know the truth is not very good for himself, but I think sometimes it's better, you know, to try to know why some people are against the group. If the people are against the Moon Church or another group, what they said is true or not true, it is very important to look by yourself, to think by yourself. For me, every time when I speak in Japanese or French to the young people involved in the Moon Church, I really, every time, you know, I ask them to think by themselves, to see the people, you know. In particular, the last thing I want to say to the person, you know, when you left the Moon Church, you know, you look like Satan, you know, you know, and in Japanese, it's ochitamono. Ochitamono means become a bad man, you know, because you left the group. But I think it is very important for the people who are in a group, try to understand why people left the group. The reasons. You have good reasons and you have not good reason. But what I know for myself in 10 years, every person left the Moon Church. There was a good reason. But people are inside of the Moon Church didn't know the reason, because the Moon Church, you know, about the information, you know, didn't give the information, you know. Right. In the 4 point in the mind control said about information.
Information control.
Oh, information control. And the information control in the Moon Church is very, very strong, you know. No? And I think I repeat, you must find information by yourself. You must try to understand the reason why so many people left the Moon Church. You know, it is very important.
Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate this.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Sorry for my English.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.